Today we are talking echinacea, and in particular, does echinacea help increase Vo2 Max, especially in the context of running? And where this topic came from is a good buddy of mine at work, smart guy, successful guy. He recently started taking echinacea in order to increase his Vo2 Max to have better running performance. Well, that seems kind of interesting to me, so I spent the past few days researching, as we do, the chemistry of it to understand how effective is echinacea at increasing Vo2 Max. But first, what exactly is echinacea? Well, echinacea is a plant native to North America, and the medicinal parts of it are really the whole plant itself, from the purple flowers to the leaves to the stems and even the root, which exists below ground. And where echinacea really rose to fame is as an immune boosting substance. So big body of scientific research out there generally accepted that echinacea has good immune boosting properties. The mechanism in action is by boosting your white blood cell production, your T cell production, to help fight off infectants into the body. Good body of research around there. But where all the chatter is echinacea actually able to increase your Vo2 Max? And real quick about what exactly is Vo2 Max before we get into does it do it or not. So Vo2 Max is defined as the amount of oxygen, milliliters of oxygen, per kilograms of body weight per minute of exercise. And it's a measure of how much oxygen your body is able to consume and use in your muscles for energy. And in general, the higher your Vo2 Max, the more oxygen that's available, which means the more ATP you can produce, which means the more energy your body can do per minute, and that's going to help you run faster or do different type of things longer. It's different than lactic threshold, and that's the point where your body goes from aerobic, using oxygen, to anaerobic. And when you're anaerobic, it's when you start producing lactic acid, you get the muscle fatigue, and you eventually shut down. Your lactic threshold can be trained. More specific workouts, high intensity type work, getting better with your running economy, you can delay the point at which you go anaerobic. I mean, you can run faster speeds before you go anaerobic longer with work. Your Vo2 Max is generally genetically based, and there isn't a lot you can do to raise that, and it's not always necessarily that important if you really work on this component of it. So that's the difference between these two. Now, where all the chatter started about echinacea was back in the mid-2000s, and it started with a research study, which I'll link down below. And the mechanism of action was that in clinical studies, people who took 8,000 grams of echinacea per day for a period of weeks saw an increase in the production of EPO. Now, EPO is the molecule in the body that produced by the kidney that regulates how much red blood cells your body produces. And that's why it is the drug you also see a lot in doping and endurance athletes, because it's particularly effective at increasing the amount of red blood cells available. The more red blood cells you have, the more oxygen you're going to be able to carry to your cells, the higher to your muscles. Effectively, that's going to give you a higher Vo2 Max. So the study started around echinacea, helped increase the amount of EPO available. More EPO necessarily shows you have more Vo2 Max. And subsequent studies all the way up to 2012 by the same group showed that this dose of echinacea, increased EPO, increases Vo2 Max. And if you look out there today, all the different supplements that are really Vo2 Max focused, that contain these maximum doses of echinacea, 8,000 grams in a serving or 2,000 grams 4 times a day, they're really based upon this body of clinical research. Now, in all my research the last few days or so, I came across this body of research, pretty interesting. But pretty much every single clinical study since then, all the way to 2017, can't replicate these findings. So you have one research team producing a body of research over 5 years, and you have pretty much every other research community out there trying to replicate these findings and finding the exact opposite, that Echinacea didn't increase EPO, didn't increase VO2 max. So in general, what I like to see in my studies is that you're able to replicate these findings in order to have a measure of confidence that it could go work. So what I do think is happening, though, is if you look at a lot of the VO2 max supplements on the market, Echinacea isn't the lead ingredient. Instead, Echinacea is at the same clinical dosage you had in that body of research, but they're also adding things that actually do improve VO2 max. Minerals such as iron, as well as vitamins such as vitamin B6 and B12. And these three things are clinically shown, scientifically shown, to improve your red blood cell production. In fact, you need vitamin B6 and vitamin B12 to make red blood cells. So effectively, if your body is producing healthy red blood cells by having the right amount of vitamins, the right amount of iron from a diet, supplementation, etc., that is going to help your VO2 max in the sense that you're going to be healthy and operating much closer to your VO2 max potential. I don't know if it's going to raise your VO2 max above your genetic potential, but it will, if you are deficient in those areas, certainly help you reach your potential in general and get you closer to back to that level that you should be at. So overall, those are some findings that I discovered from my research. Hope it's helpful, and as always, see you guys at the finish line.